for Office 2013 in my IT lab. In this training we're going to take a look at some of the more advanced features in PowerPoint that can make your message look a lot better. We're going to look at word art, we're going to add in some shapes, we're going to do some other things including SmartArt, which can really make things look cool, and rather than just plain old bullet text, we can really make our presentation look neat and draw in audience interest. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play around with shapes, and they're right here in the Home tab. You can also get to them over here under the drawing tools. It's the same set of shapes. You can go either way for this one. I'm going to choose just from the Home tab, and we're going to create an oval directly above the square. Now, as long as you're pretty close, my IT lab should accept what you've done, but sometimes if you're off a little, you might just need to try it again. I find that this particular training is pretty forgiving though, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the lock drawing mode. We're going to go back up and make more ovals, but we want them all to be the same size. So we're going to right click and choose lock drawing mode for that oval. And now when we draw our next ovals, even if it's not exactly the same shape, it's going to make that into exactly the same shape because we've locked that drawing mode. And we're going to make one over here to the right of the diamond, and we're going to make one right here below the diamond. Doesn't have to be perfect, but if you do get an incorrect action, just try it again and it'll probably snap in. Just try to get them in the general area that you're seeing here. On slide 6, we're going to draw an arrow, and now we're going to start making some more of the flow for this flow chart. So we're going to go to the very bottom of the oval. We're going to left click and drag down to about the middle of the top of the box. And you can kind of see there's a little bit of an outline that appears around your box when this happens. What we're trying to do is we're trying to connect the two. And every so often you might notice that you might get an incorrect action. Try to get it somewhat close and it should snap in and it should accept that. This one's a little bit more picky than the ovals. And then we're going to type in some text into our shape. You don't have to hit tab, you don't have to hit enter. Once you type in the right thing there, it should accept that and move on to the next question. Now on number 3, this one can be a little tricky. On slide 5 we're going to apply a quick style. What they call it is a quick style. Well, first things first, we're not on slide 5, we need to move up to slide 5. Be careful of that. I noticed that a lot in the PowerPoint trainings, that they'll have you do an activity on a different slide than where you begin. So just be aware of that and make sure you're doing the activity on the right slide. So on slide 5 we're actually going to work with this one up here, the far right callout shape. And it's just a shape that we're using to point at something on this picture that we want to draw attention to. But what we want to do is we want to apply this moderate effect orange accent 6 quick style. Well, my IT lab is calling it a quick style, but really what they're looking for is this shape style here. And we want the 5th row and the 7th column. You may not see tooltips, but what we really want is the 5th row, 7th column. When we do that, our shape is going to turn orange. So it kind of jumps out a little bit more because it's an opposite color of what we're working with here. And then we're going to simultaneously add shape fill to these other two. So you click on one, hold down Control and click on the other to select them both at once. Anytime we need to do something simultaneously to two objects, we need to use that Control click to select them both. So we're going to go to the shape fill and we're going to choose the linear, well, the blue accent 1 first of all, which should be 1st row 5th column. It should be this one right here, right under the theme colors. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the linear right dark variation gradient to the two remaining callouts. Well, still the two that are selected, so we don't need to click anything else here right now. And in this one we're actually going to go back into shape fill and we're going to go down to gradient, and we want the linear right dark variation gradient. So it's under the it's under the dark variation gradients, and this one is actually the second row, first column. It's this one. You don't have a tooltip for this, but this is the one that you're after. And you'll notice it's a gradient. It's kind of dark over here, and it fades lighter as you go across. And now that we've applied this dark look to these two callouts, it's really hard to read the text. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply a white background 1 text fill. We're no longer filling in the shape. Now we want to fill in the text. And we just want to choose the very first one here. It's just plain old white, basically. And it makes it easier to read those callouts. We're going to go back to slide 6, and we're going to work on this one a little bit. So again, we're starting on 5 here. We need to jump down to slide 6. And we're going to apply the preset 3 shape effect to the diamond shape. Here's our diamond shape. We're going to go under Format, and we want the shape effect. And we want first row, third column. Preset, first row, third column. This one right here. No tooltips right now, but that's the one we want. Fortunately for us, My IT Lab is telling us exactly which one to choose. And you'll notice the style changes a little bit when you select that. And now we're going to change the effect on the rectangle as well. Offset diagonal top right, shadow under shape effects. So we're going to go under shadow, and we're going to go to the outer section, and we want the first column, third row. It's going to give that one a little bit more style as well. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to start working with SmartArt, which is pretty cool stuff. We're going to go down to slide 3, and we're going to go to the Insert tab, and we're going to go find SmartArt right here. And when you hover over it, you'll see the tooltip, and it does show that you're going to get something that really makes it neat to see the type of information you're trying to present. And in this case, we're going to do a basic cycle. So just the first of the cycles. And it gives you these 5 dots with the arrows around them. So if you have something that is a life cycle, like this project management life cycle that you want to work with, it makes it really easy to see the information that you want to present. You don't have to build all of these circles and all these arrows. SmartArt really makes this pretty simple. So we're going to do initiation in the first bullet point. In the second bullet point, we're going to do execution. And then in the third bullet point, we're going to type closure. Now, you might click on this one thinking this is the third in the cycle. This is not the one that they're after. This one isn't either. They actually want you to go back to this one to type in closure. Now, to me, that would be the 5th as we go clockwise around these, but it's the one that they want you to select. And once you type that in correctly, you'll notice we move on to the next step. We're going to remove the last 2 bullet points. All you need to do is highlight the ones we want to get rid of and hit the delete key. And the SmartArt is smart enough to automatically change all the arrows for us too. We'll select the other one that we don't want and hit the delete key again. And now we have a SmartArt with just those 3 bullet points. Now on slide 3, we're going to apply a dark to fill color to the SmartArt diagram. So we're going to go under Design, and we're going to choose Change Colors for this, because we want to change that color for that diagram. Now, one of the cool things that I think is really neat about PowerPoint is we have a theme on our PowerPoint presentation here, and it has this kind of cream color, it has orange, and it has this dark green. When we choose to change colors, if we use our primary theme colors, we can automatically make that SmartArt fit with the rest of our theme, because those colors are already in our list. So under Change Colors, we simply choose the third, the dark of the primary theme colors, and it changes to fit the text, it changes to fit this styling over here on the left. Then we're going to continue on slide 3, and we're going to apply the cartoon SmartArt style. and we're going to go to SmartArt Styles right over here, and we actually want to hit the down arrow, and under the 3D section, the one we want is the first row, third column under the 3D. And you'll notice it kind of gives it some depth there. They kind of look more like buttons. Now here's one that trips a lot of people up, and first time going through this, it tripped me up too. We're going to go to slide 5, but it's very tempting, since this is SmartArt, to start trying to work on this and try to change this one to this basic bending process. That's not at all what we want. We have to switch over to this other slide. So that one seems to trip people up quite a bit. We want to highlight this SmartArt, and we're going to change this one to a different layout. Now you can right click and choose to change the layout if you'd like, and we're going to go to this one's going to be the basic bending process. It's a process, and we want the bending process, so it's going to kind of weave around the page a little bit. Now this one's going to be down in the 8th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the 3rd column, and you'll notice that this one kind of bends around. So now we've got a route that kind of goes like this. Now maybe that's not quite how we want it to look. In this case, we're going to change the height of the SmartArt shape to 4.03. We can right click and we can go to size and position, and the height is not going to be 508, we're going to do 4.03, and then we're going to just wait for a second and it should snap in there, and then we're going to close this pane right here, and then my IT lab will jump on to the next step. Still on slide 5, we're going to position this SmartArt exactly in this location from the top left corner. Well, you could try to drag it to that exact place, but you're going to have a lousy time with that. Right click, choose size and position, and if you have a relatively small screen resolution like I do on my laptop, you're going to need to scroll down over here and you're going to choose position. And you'll notice horizontal position is already in the right place, but vertical position needs to be 2.44. When you type that in, you'll notice after a brief pause it will jump down a little bit, and then we need to close this pane. And now it's exactly where we would want it. And we're going to insert a WordArt title. Now we're going to start working with something that's kind of cool. You can start to make your own graphics and really make it look flashy. We're going to go to slide 4, and we're going to insert a WordArt title. WordArt's right over here, and we want to choose the 4th row, 3rd column. So it's going to be this kind of orange one, and we're going to type in famous quote. We're going to apply a rotation to this. So we want to change our text. We're going to go to the text effects, and what we want is under the let's see, this one is a 3D rotation. It's going to be an off-axis 1 right 3D rotation. So under parallel, we want the 2nd row, and we want the 2nd column. And it kind of slants it to the side a little bit. And now we're going to position it again. Dragging is not the way to go here. We want to right click. We want to, oops, let's right click again. And we want to format that shape. And we really want it to, actually, we don't have size and position in our list for this one. We're going to do this one a little different. We're going to highlight it, and this one's our size, but we can click size and position here, and that's an easy way to get back to that size and position menu. And we can position this WordArt wherever we want it from that top left corner. So we're going to go with 0.69 horizontally, 0.69, and we're going to go with 1.08 for vertical, and that's going to place that WordArt exactly where we want it, and then we're going to close this pane, and it should put it in the right spot. Now we're going to start working with a picture. We're going to jump over to slide 4. Again, it's not on the slide that we need it to be on, so we need to jump over to slide 4 again. And we're going to resize this image. Highlight the image. We can go over to Format, and here's all of our size options. You can right click, and this one does have size and position, or you can hit this button down here, or you can work with some of the stuff up here if you want. I always like to jump over to this menu. I find that it has everything I need all in one spot, so I think this is pretty handy. So for size, our height is going to be 3.45, and it takes a second, and then that gets a little bit larger, and we can close this out so my IT Lab knows we're on to the next step. Although we're actually going right back into that same menu for positioning. Underneath size, way down here, is the position section. We're going to position it 9.2 horizontally, and we're going to position it 3.54 vertically. This is down here in the bottom right corner. Then we're going to close the Format Picture task pane. Now we're going to try flipping the image around a little bit, and by flipping it we have the ability to do some mirror imaging, or maybe just do some interesting rotates on something we want to show. So we're going to flip this image horizontally. Under Format, we have the ability to rotate the image, and under Rotate we can flip it horizontally, and it's exactly backwards. Now we're going to go back to rotating this one again. We're going to choose more rotation options this time, because we want to rotate the image 180 degrees. Basically, it is flipping it vertically, but we're going to go in this way this time, and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. You'll see it just flips upside down. It's not exactly a flip upside down as you would just flipping a piece of paper upside down. It's actually a rotation, like kind of clockwise. So he spun around. And now we're going to flip him back vertically. We can use this menu here to flip him back vertically, and now he's back where he began. So this just gives you kind of a tour of what we could do with rotations, even though we really didn't do anything, because we just flipped him around and ultimately he landed back where he started. So this is where things start to get a little bit trickier. Now what we want to do with this one is, and depending on your screen resolution this one can be a little more tricky, we want to ungroup the Benjamin Franklin image. So under Format there's a group option, and we can choose Ungroup. And this one does something kind of interesting. It basically takes that picture and divides it into all of its different pieces so that you can work with any of the pieces individually. So now we deselect the image, and he still looks the same, and we got to scroll down a little. Whoops. We got to scroll down a little to see that, but one of the problems we have is if we scroll down too far and our resolution is too small, it jumps us to the next slide. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to drag this slider up to 140. And now we're doing this for precision. We really want to see exactly what's going on here. But you're going to notice that this is going to be difficult with a small resolution. Maybe with a high resolution that my IT Lab intended, this works a little bit better, but you need to really be careful you don't go too far or you jump to that next slide. So I'm just using my mouse wheel to get down as far as I can without jumping to that next slide. And I'm going to change the shape fill color of just the text. So I can left click and drag over the text that I want to change, and you'll notice it grabs each letter as an individual because we ungrouped this picture. And now we're going to change the color of this. We're going to do that over here on the Home tab, and we're just going to change the font. Fifth column, first color. Actually, this one is a little bit different. How about our shape fill? Maybe shape fill is where we're at. Because it's actually a shape, it's not a font, it's not text. It's a picture that happens to be words, but we're not going to use the utility we use to change fonts, because it's really pictures that we're working with here. So you do need to use the shape fill for that one. So it kind of gives us that hint here, but I didn't pick up on it right away. But make sure that you're not treating it as text, because it really is a picture. Okay, and now we're going to deselect that text. We're going to go back down and take another look at it here. And you'll see that now we're using the color that is appropriate with our theme. And now we're going to regroup the image. So we're going to select the whole image, and in my case I'm going to need to shrink this down so I can select everything all at once. And I need to regroup this image. Here's where things get tricky. You would think that you could go right under Group here and choose Regroup. Incorrect action. Okay, you might choose to group that image, which should effectively do the same thing that you want. That also seems to fail. You can right click, but Group doesn't allow you to select what's going on in here. These are all different ways that you would be able to do this in PowerPoint, but my IT Lab doesn't allow you to do that. Maybe it's just not programmed to accept that route. Whatever the case, we need to use our troubleshooting techniques to figure out a way to get this one to work. Under the Home tab, there's also an option. And under Arrange, we can actually choose to regroup. Also an incorrect action. Group also fails there as well. But there's one method, and only one method, that I've found that has been able to get this step to work. And that is a Shift F10, the letter G. Oops, let me try that again. Shift F10. I'm going to reselect him here. Shift F10 should bring up your right-click menu, and then if you type the letter G, that right-click menu will actually let that work. But for whatever reason, when you do the right-click with the mouse, it doesn't activate that subset of stuff. And then Enter. So we're going to leave it on Group and just hit Enter, and it does click on through. So we're actually grouping, we're not even regrouping, and we need to use Shift F10 and then G to get that to work. It takes some troubleshooting, but it really lets you see there's a million ways to do anything in these Office products. Okay, so we're going to recolor the ballpoint pen image on slide 5. There's no ballpoint pen image here. It's because we need to go to slide 5. And we want to recolor this image. And this one's really kind of neat too. You can have any old image and you can change its colors to meet your theme. So if you find an image you want in your presentation but it doesn't quite fit with what you're trying to do, you can use this capability. Now we're going to recolor this image. We're going to go to the color, and we want to recolor the image, and we're actually going to scroll down a little bit more here, and we want the second row and the 7th column. So we're actually going to recolor it to this. No tooltips. It's this one. Just go find this one, and that'll work. Without the tooltips, it really does make that one pretty difficult to find. We're going to go back to slide 4, and we're going to insert a cloud shape. Now, kind of like we did with the ovals, we're going to look for a cloud shape, and it's going to be in this. But we're going to need to hit that down arrow and go and find a cloud shape. Now this one's actually the cloud shape right here. Under basic shapes, it kind of looks like a cloud. And we're going to insert that, and we're going to position this one as accurately as we can. So position the crosshair pointer on the slide so the indicator on the ruler is at the 3.5 inch mark to the left of the horizontal ruler. So 3.5 left of horizontal, and we want to be at the 1/2 inch mark above the vertical ruler. So as you can see, I'm about 1/2 inch above 0 on the left, and I'm about 3.5 inches left of the 0 on the top. Left click, drag, and we are going to stop when we reach the 2.5 inch mark to the right of the 0, so right about there. And, well, unfortunately, I can't scroll down right now because I'm holding on to this left click drag, but I believe it's at the 2-inch mark. The idea is that we're circling this text. So I think it's 2 inches below and 2.5 inches to the right. And when you let go, hopefully you've hit the mark and you have a cloud shape. Unfortunately, that cloud shape is right on top of your text. So we're going to right click on that, and we have the option to send that to the back. And when we send that to the back, what it's actually doing is it's pushing the cloud behind the text, and then you can see the text in the cloud. And that is PowerPoint Chapter 3, Skill-Based Training.